Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Let's just start with some intro questions.
Okay.
What is your name and what do you do?
I'm Lauren Consul. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and certified sex therapist, and I essentially help people have conversations that most people avoid or are really uncomfortable. So we're talking about infidelity and non-monogamy and sex-related issues all day long.
Wow. How long have you been studying this subject?
I've been in it for well over a decade plus. That's as much as I'm going to say about that.
I like that. What got you into it? This area is so fascinating to me.
Well, I always thought people were interesting, right? Dynamics, and so, when you're in school and you're meeting with different clients and trying out different experiences, I started working with families, and that was very challenging, but I think it got me interested in working with multiple people at the same time, because it's different than working one-on-one. When I'm working with you one-on-one, I am thinking about all the people in your life that are in the room with us but aren't in it. When there's multiple people, I have to think, how am I going to say this to you while that person is listening to you? And that's a really interesting dynamic. And so starting to work with couples is really interesting. You're like, okay, I have to say this thing or call out this behavior while they're there, while not losing my relationship with this person, but I can't not say this thing. So it was really intellectually stimulating and fun and kept me on my toes. And then I just started working with more infidelity clients and where issues would come in about it. And it was fascinating, where to really heal from infidelity, you have to put all your cards on the table and be vulnerable consistently over time. If I had a catchphrase, it would be consistent action over time. Mm-hmm. And seeing that progress is really amazing. I would much rather work with a couple who's dealing with infidelity than like the ones that come in and it's 30 years of resentments that haven't been dealt with. That feels a lot more challenging to me. Right?
I can't imagine the direct impact you must feel, because I've never been cheated on, but I can only imagine just how small one can feel in that moment. Mm-hmm. And I think of it like you can be the most confident person in the world. I feel like something so vulnerable about knowing that, and I could already tell if that moment ever happens to me that like I'm going to need help, and I don't even know where to begin with help in that, which I'm sure we'll get to. Mm-hmm. So I find your job fascinating because one, I think there's a level of understanding of the situation that a lot of us, myself included, don't know. Like, I think the moment I hear this, it's just a wave of emotion, and there's no clarity in that emotion of where do I go, what do I feel. It's so overwhelming. And then what do I do is so interesting. I genuinely don't know step one. Okay, this video is not meant to be, top 10 things to do if you've been cheated on or like how to get over it. We played a game show. I created these scenarios that are in the gray area of cheating, things that I find really fascinating. I think the black and white cheating is also interesting, but it's the stuff in the middle where one person might think is insignificant, where their partner is like, that was actually really hurtful. Mm-hmm. And we have a bunch of scenarios, and I have 4 contestants: Anya, Vanessa, Velko, Craig.
Okay.
There are 2 girls, 2 guys, because I wanted both a feminine point of view and a masculine point of view. And their whole job was to see how betrayed would they feel on a scale of 0 to 10. 0 being not betrayed at all, if their significant other did this to them, and 10 being extremely betrayed. 2 points. A 5 out of 10 and above, a 5 out of 10 and above, they would confront their partner about their actions. And a 7 out of 10 and above, they believe what their partner did was a form of cheating.
Okay.
All right. So,
and are they heterosexual?
Yes, but a lot of the scenarios we did make as inclusive as possible. But in this case, all 4 contestants are heterosexual.
Okay.
I think we should just watch.
All right.
And if there's at any moment you're like, I have something to say, pause. And I have follow-up questions after we hear the scenario and their reactions. But I'm just excited. I'm excited to see what you think. Yeah. And let's just get into it.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. Scenario number 1.
Whoa. Woo. Oh my God.
You are in a 2-year relationship with your significant other. While out together, you ask to borrow their phone to show them a funny reel because your phone is dead. When you open their Instagram app, click onto the Explore page, your heart drops. Their feed is exclusively filled with photos of attractive models, half naked, on a sunny beach, undeniably provocative. You scroll down the Explore page and it doesn't stop.
Oh my God.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how betrayed would you feel, if at all? Reactions to that situation, if any?
I mean, it's such a common thing that comes up. I mean, social media has really changed how we think about infidelity and what it is and how we engage with people and these kind of parasocial relationships that we have and how connected can you be. And I think this is a really common scenario that we have to talk about with our partners and what that means. And I think that, or so often it is where one partner sees it as cheating or just inappropriate, maybe even if it doesn't feel like cheating, that it feels not right to them or they can't find language, like it just doesn't feel good, and the other partner's like, what's the big deal? So this is a really good scenario because I think it comes up a lot.
Yeah. I find it fascinating with an Instagram Explore page too. You don't select what you want on your Explore page. It is kind of reading your behaviors of what you've done in the past. It is the most revealing. I don't know if you've ever played that game with your friends. We'll often do it. It's like, what's your Explore page right now? Because it's so revealing of everything you're interested in.
Yeah.
Right?
Or something comes up, I'm like, why does it think this about me? I was like, what are you trying to tell me? I know you know more about me.
Than I do, yeah. Okay, cool. Let's keep watching. Ready, set, go. Reveal.
Oh.
So the girls, a 6.5, this is Anya, and Vanessa did a 5. And the guys, Velko did a 3, and Craig did a 3.5.
Okay.
So we can watch through the reactions and we can get what you're thinking at the very end.
Okay, so it's not considered cheating, cold hard cheating, so it's under 7. But I would be confronting and I would be like, this is like a lot of red flags here. Like I don't see this as like a future partner probably.
Oh, wow.
Like
Period.
so it would be really, it would make me question a lot of things, but it's not cheating technically, but I would be like, this is not the person for me.
So this is really, I mean, 6.5 is bordering, and this person, we don't even know if they've like talked to, I mean, it's on the Explore page, but we don't know if they've talked to them, engaged with them. You know, I wonder, like before social media, how she would feel about like someone looking at like a Sports Illustrated or like a Playboy or a Victoria's Secret model. You know, that could be, I mean, it's on our page without engagement, and she's already at 6.5. It's really, that's very quite high,
That's
right?
interesting,
Without
yeah.
having context of like what's going on. So I'd be curious of like, why is it just looking at, you know, these beautiful bodies and these provocative spaces? Like, what about it feels like it's so high? It's like breaking an agreement outside of, because that's really what cheating is. It's this breaking of a relationship agreement. So what's the agreement there? Like, you're only going to look at my body. You're only going to find my body attractive, and how realistic is that?
Wow. That's a great point. Vanessa.
I actually agree. And now this is actually making me want to up my answer to a 10. No, I'm kidding. I put 5 because I would definitely
She's a jokester. So yeah.
be confronting my partner about this because that's a nightmare. But I agree that it's not cheating, so it's hard to put it on the scale. But you're right. I probably should have gone more of a 6 because I would have a serious problem with that, and not like a comment like, "Oh, this kind of bothers me." I would be like, "Well, what the hell is this? Like, this is insane."
That's like a really big reaction, right? To say like that, this is so insane. I mean, people do have a big response, but I think we have to put all of this in context. Why does it bother you? Like, it's not enough just to be like, I don't like that you're looking at these people, that they're on your Instagram. I have to understand why to explain that to my partner. And my partner has to be able to explain like why I like looking at these and what it means. And that's where people get stuck. It's usually just like, I don't like that, and because I don't like that, you shouldn't do it. And this is where people can go into more like secrecy or underground, because it's not this agreed upon, like, we understand what's going on. It's usually the person who thinks it's wrong kind of is like, feels more justified in that. And I think it's a societal kind of perception too, like we shouldn't be doing these things. So I have society on my side too, so you shouldn't do it. But then it just kind of goes underground.
That's an interesting point.
Right?
The societal expectations, and that's such an interesting thing, where you feel justified because you feel like society's behind you, or the opposite, the inverse of that's also true, where you might look at your actions as immediately wrong because the majority would believe it's immediately wrong.
Yeah, on the surface, right?
Yeah.
So we say, and this comes up with porn a lot. Are we okay talking about porn? Okay. So this comes up with porn a lot because, you know, society-wise, we're like, porn's wrong, we shouldn't look at porn. Like, that's kind of the message we get, yet how much porn is out there? And how much
Pretty sure it's the most visited thing on the internet.
It's huge, right?
Yeah.
So we are like, don't do this thing, it's wrong, but we're all like consuming it, or not all, but like a majority of people are consuming it.
Yeah.
And so this shows up a lot with like one partner being like, I don't want you watching porn, I don't think it's okay, and the couple's not having a robust discussion about it. And they're like, well, I'm justifying this, like porn is wrong, this is what we believe. And then they catch their partner watching porn and they're kind of like, I never agreed to that. Do you understand what it means to me?
Yeah.
So it's really having these conversations. What does it mean to look at it? What does it mean to you why does it bother you?
Yeah.
And not in the defensive way, but like really help me understand. And then when we understand, then we can problem solve. It's too quick to go to problem solving of like, don't do that or limit this versus why? What does it mean for me and what does it mean for you? Right?
Yeah. Velko, you said a 3.
Yep. I put myself in the shoes of the person whose algorithm it was, and I'm a big manifester. So like right now I'm trying to get in good shape. So I manifest just hot, hard bodies, just beautiful, sex appeal.
Okay.
So, because I want that to be my reality. Like I want to be that, and then it manifests as hot women. And that's how I would explain it to her as well. And she would understand.
Yeah? Craig, it sounds like you're only a half up from that reality.
I mean, it's certainly concerning. I wouldn't be happy. I don't think I would consider it cheating because, like, if maybe it's models of both sexes. Like, I don't really know what the
It wasn't
just a bunch of dudes. Yeah, it's concerning. I'm not happy. I wouldn't consider it cheating, but I'm certainly not happy.
I think it is different for men and women though in that regard, because I think, I don't know, men are more like
Winners.
Honestly, yeah.
No. What were you gonna say? I'm curious. But that was the next.
Probably, and I haven't looked into the numbers, but I think it's more probable that men are cheating maybe more than women. I would assume. I don't know that for sure, just in my personal experience.
Do we want to talk about that now?
Yeah.
So the statistics on cheating are not what she's saying. Men and women tend to cheat about the same amount, close to, right? I think men statistically it's about 15 to 25%, and women it's 10 to 20%. But we have to look at those statistics because where is that information coming from? There's no one universal definition of cheating or infidelity. So every study or whoever's looking at these numbers is probably going to define it differently. So we're going to get different information. So if it says cheating is X, Y, and Z, and you haven't done X, Y, and Z, but maybe you've done A, B, C, you're not captured in this, right? So it's like we have to look at how are we defining it, and that makes it hard to gather this information. And women, there's much more of a stigma for women who cheat. So we believe like that there's like underreporting of women because it's like, well, now I have to say I'm a woman who cheats, and like I have to really trust whatever I'm like admitting to on this thing.
Yep.
And so a lot of times there's an idea of underreporting for
Makes
women
sense.
who have been unfaithful. So, but we get this idea that men cheat, and it's kind of like, yeah, like that's expected.
Where do you think that stems from?
I think it comes from like the idea of, men want sex and like they just can't control themselves. Like all of these like terrible narratives that we have, like, yeah, it's just part of these kind of stereotypes versus women are, meant to be more guarded and pure, and that even the idea of like men need to go out and like spread their seed. I don't know if you've read the book Untrue by Wednesday Martin. It's a fascinating book on like female infidelity and female sexuality, and she looks at kind of the whole history of female desire and sexuality. And one thing she was talking about in this book that I thought was really interesting, it's not just like men going out and having sex with multiple women to try and procreate as much. There's a benefit for a woman having sex back in the day, right before paternity tests and all of that, having sex with multiple men, because if multiple men thought they could be the father to this child, there's more resources and there are more people to help take care of this child, and we lived in much more community. So it's not just like men going out and spreading their seed. It's like there was a benefit to women too. Right?
Going back to the numbers, you said 15 to 20% of these reports. We don't know what cheating is defined in these reports. 15 to 20% women. What were the?
About 10 to 20% for women and 15 to 25% for men.
Got it.
But
Okay.
you're going to find different statistics. Like that's kind of just general
Yeah.
on what we're talking about. And are we talking lifetime cheating? Are we talking
Totally.
about this relationship? So it's really
Yes.
like all about the definition.
It is interesting how similar those numbers are, and you know, depending, like cheating can be defined different ways, but that doesn't change the delta between those two, I would presume, and there's probably an underreporting of both, and that is really fascinating, because I would have, if someone was to ask me on a stage in front of 10,000 people who cheats more, men or women, I would have pretty confidently said men as well, right?
Why do you think men cheat versus women?
Oh, that's a great question. It's not the same reason?
Well, I think a lot of people think men cheat for sex and women cheat for like emotional connection.
Yeah, I would
And-
probably come to that answer.
Right?
Yeah.
And it goes back to these stereotypes of
You're right.
both sexes do it for both of those reasons. And so
Yeah.
when we go in, so much of infidelity and cheating is like black and white. You're good or you're bad, you're this or that, you should stay or you should go, and there's so much gray and so much nuance. But that nuance is messy and it's scary, because if we can put like these things in categories, like
It's easy.
It's
like an
easy.
easy mental shortcut to be like, you're a villain, you're a hero, or
and it
you're
feels
in trouble,
safer
I'm
for
not.
us too.
Yeah.
Right? Like if I can go, you're this or that, or it's this or that, then I can kind of walk around in my world and feel like I can control this.
Yeah.
When we go and live in the gray and be like, oh, women do it just for sex? Like, oh, shoot, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Right? Or men do it for intimacy. What does that mean? You know, it's so much.
Yeah. I remember when I first started getting into just like psychology research, the idea of like, we as humans need heuristics, right? Like mental shortcuts, because we make so many decisions during the day. And it's a great thing that humans do, because it's probably saved us in a lot of times. You're like, oh, here is a tiger that seems like it's really hungry. I should run, right? Like that, it's saved us in those situations, but at the same time, how much harm it's done of like putting people into categories, putting situations into black and white things. And that's one of the most interesting things to me about also human nature. Just this, how many stereotypes and how many preconceived notions do we have about things? And when you hear that it's not that, it is such an unlock, this being one of them right now.
Yeah. I mean, because it is interesting that our brains work in these like, okay, categories, but we live in this gray, in this black and white. And so it can be this hard thing to get out of like, no, we live in this, and what does this mean? And it's way scarier to be in this like messy middle part, right?
100%. Any final sort of commentary on that? If not, I have a couple questions for you.
It's a great scenario to start with, because it is such a common issue that comes up. And I do think it does fall into, a lot of people do confront their partners about this, right? But I think what is missed when people confront their partners on this is the context and what it means, because it feels so obvious of like, well, of course I don't want you looking at like other sexy people, but really it's like, why? What does it mean? And that's what we have to get at, and probably will come up in a lot of these things. And you'll probably get tired of me saying the why and what's underneath.
Please, I can't wait. How common is infidelity?
It's going to depend on what you mean by infidelity. How do you define it? It's going to be, are we talking about in this relationship, in your lifetime? So there's a lot of definition, and that's the thing with infidelity. It seems very clear and simple and black and white, but there's almost always going to be a follow-up question. So I can't answer it of, well, what does infidelity mean? We do have some statistics, but it really then again goes to, I always have to say the caveat of, what were they asking? Like, what was their definition of infidelity? And knowing that there's probably underreporting for women because of the stigma that comes with female infidelity in particular, and infidelity in general. Like if you were somebody who's been married for 30 years and maybe you have cheated on your partner and you're now taking this like survey about infidelity, you have to really trust, like, if I write yes and my partner never knew about it, like, is that going to stay confidential? Am I going to have to talk to this person about it after? So there's
Is this
so
gonna
much.
break my marriage if I answer? Why would I even write that down on a form?
Why would I?
Yeah.
It's easier to say no. So it just depends on the definition, the study, and what we're looking at. But it's a lot more common. Way more people have gone through this. I usually say, you know somebody in your life who's experienced infidelity. They probably just haven't talked about it. Because so often we hear about the ones that broke up or divorced or didn't make it the relationship work after because it ended. But so many of the people I work with don't tell anybody. I'm the only one who knows in their life, or very few people know because they don't want the shame, the stigma, the judgment around it. You know, there's shame in staying. So it's hard to get the right data.
Yeah. We'll go into the definition of infidelity in a later scenario, but I actually really love that answer. What do most people get wrong about cheaters or cheating in relationships?
Most people get wrong about even using the word cheaters. Because when you say someone's a cheater, that is a global definition of who they are as a person. And most of the time, I'm not gonna say all the time, but most of the time, it doesn't define that person as who they are. I mean, just like we don't want to define ourselves by some of our worst decisions in our lives, they are a part of us. It's not like downplaying or dismissing what happened, but it's saying this isn't who you are as a person. This is part of you, and we need to understand that, but saying that someone's a cheater puts them in a black and white category. It says they're a bad person, right? You have an immediate idea. When I say, oh, that person's a cheater, something popped into your brain right away, right? Versus going, they cheated. And we understand that people are complex and nuanced. So that's what people get wrong about cheating and infidelity, is that there's so much more nuance and so much more gray. And we're talking about humans, and we have to understand the human experience in it.
Yeah. Going back to this real quick, when you see that the women's answers was a 6.5 and a 6, and the men's answers in this was a 3.5 and a 3, what are sort of your initial reactions to those 4 responses?
I mean, my initial response feels very on brand with how we engage, I think, with men and women and sexuality, and like that general trust or distrust of men engaging with pornography, with women, like with that kind of whole area. And so there's this, well, if you're looking at it, there must be something else going on. So if women are looking at it, it almost doesn't feel as threatening, because we have this idea like women aren't engaging in that. They're not gonna like reach out and slip into somebody's DM. So it's like, I don't love it, but I'm not as threatened by it. So I think it really kind of paints that stereotypes of men and women, how they engage with infidelity and sexual desire.
Great. Ready for scenario number 2?
Yes.
Your significant other of 2 years is an actor and is finally casted in a rom-com. Acting has been their dream for a decade, and this feels like their big break. You learn that they have to share multiple on-screen kisses with their attractive but married co-star Cameron. Your significant other leaves for a week to film. When they come back, and in describing the experience, they say, "It was so fun, yet so difficult. I didn't realize how much work went into the craft. In fact, Cameron and I felt like we were holding the crew back because the climactic scene, the kiss in the rain, didn't feel right. So after rehearsal, we would stay late and get some extra practice in. Luckily, it worked out,
crazy.
because by day 5, we really felt like we nailed it." On a scale of 1 to 10, how betrayed would you feel, if at all? Any initial reaction?
Mine is always, what were their agreements beforehand? You know, so yeah, when I hear a scenario like this, it's what were their agreements beforehand? Like, had they talked about this? I mean, it sounds like from the scenario they're new into acting, so it may not have been established. And is that outside what they have agreed upon? Like, that's always my first thing before I judge, because I'm like, I don't know. What did you guys say? But it's interesting kind of even hearing, I think she was saying like, oh, that's crazy. Right? It's probably the extra practice, because it can sound like an excuse, right? You're like, oh, we had to do this thing for work, which comes up a lot. I had to stay late. I had to go into this office. And that can be a slippery slope. So let's see what they say.
Ready, set, go. Reveal.
Nice.
Oh,
Wow.
Pretty alive.
okay.
So 6 by Anya and a 6.75 by Vanessa. Wow. 5 by Velko, Craig a 6. Everyone is in between a 5 and a 7, which means everyone would confront their partner about this, but no one believes it's cheating. Velko, talk to me.
I think if you're gonna practice, you definitely should talk, like tell me before. But then again, if I know they're an actor, and I know that comes with the territory, like if they've done movies before or whatever, have they?
This was their big break.
This was their first one, yeah. So if I know this could be in the wheelhouse, then I'm somewhat prepared for it. I do confront them. I'm like, hey, next time, if you're gonna do that, give me a little heads up. But a part of me, I like to suffer in a relationship. So like when I hear that, I light up a little bit, And a part of me is like, I got a little ammo now, like I kind of...
Okay. Before this part, I really loved what he was saying. So let's just pause there before he digs his hole a little bit more. I think that's a really good, that he's taking in the context of it, right? My partner is an actor. This comes somewhat with the territory. They're practicing, they're honing their craft in this. They didn't do anything outside of what was happening in the scene, right? The scene was about kissing. They're not like, well, we're going to see what it's like to go on a date to really get that chemistry. So he's having that context, but it's still worth a conversation if they didn't have that agreement. And that's an important thing. We can't talk about every scenario that's going to happen ever. We can have general relationship agreements. And then when something comes up, we need to talk about it. And this is because this is part of their job and they're working on it. And, it's like maybe meeting with a coworker after work to go through a paper or something, right? I think he's seeing in that context, but it's like, let's talk about this. So in the future, we have a clear relationship agreement. And I think of did we talk about it while you were on set? Why weren't we talking? Maybe you're in a remote location. Why didn't you tell me while it was happening? So it's really taking that context and understanding what was missed, so it's not, it's not feeling like cheating because it didn't break an agreement, but now we're creating an agreement, so in the future, we know. Right? Yeah. I don't know about the last part, though.
Brushed it off. I'm like, and then 3 months later, something happens. I'm like, you were fucking making out with that guy.
Okay, I know he's joking, but I do think people do this.
Ammunition.
Ammunition.
We've all got our magazines.
Yes.
Yeah, we're ready.
Not a great relationship trait to do. It's like if we're going to confront, we're going to talk about it, then we're really going to move forward, right? And not hold on to it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Craig,
Yeah,
6?
6. Yeah. I'm uncomfortable for sure. I'm gonna have to confront here. It's a lack of communication beforehand. Not a fan of that. Even if I was told, I'd still be pretty uncomfortable when I have a conversation, maybe a 5 beforehand. But man, if this is her big break, maybe this could be her, career-defining moment. So go for it, follow your dreams, but I'm not happy about it.
So I think what's good there is he's taking the context, like this is their job. I understand we didn't communicate it about ahead of time, and we need to talk about it, but he's not invalidating his own feelings. Not saying, well, it's their big break, I shouldn't feel this way, it's their job. Our feelings are always valid, like hard stop. Feelings are always valid. How they manifest might not be, how, things might influence them, we might want to look and reflect, but feelings are always valid. And I think where people get in trouble is where they're like, I shouldn't feel this way, I shouldn't bring this up, and then that's when we go into ammunition, and that's when it builds up. So he's taking in the context, saying like, I know this is your job, this is your big break, I want to support you, and that and is important, it's not but. But is where we start to kind of discount everything that was said before, puts the other person on the defensive. So I see this was your big break, I know this was your work, I know we didn't communicate it about ahead of time, and I have feelings about it, and I want to talk about it. So we can hold both of those things as true.
Yeah, so that's a really good point. I like that one.
Why didn't you tell me this before or in that timeline and not when you came back? Because then that would make me feel like there was something fishy about it.
But it almost feels like they saw you and they immediately first saying that they thought and they feel bad about it, so now they're telling me?
Yeah.
Maybe that's worse. Maybe now I'm like, this is higher.
If you're feeling bad about it. Yeah.
Because they didn't tell me when we weren't together, and now they see me again, like, oh, I gotta come clean about this at some point.
At 27, how much practice do you need? Especially if you're a professional actor. Like, I know this is such an interesting discussion, but if this actually happened in real life, like, that would be kind of insane.
Yeah.
Like, if I was dating someone for 2 years and then they were like, yeah, I was just getting extra practice after work, like, hooking up with this married lady in the back of my car, I'd be like, okay, wait, what the hell? Like,
Vanessa,
yes.
give us an example of
dear.
how you would confront your partner.
Oh my. I think, gosh, I won't get into full character, but I would be like, I would really appreciate if you had told me that in advance. Like, why is this coming up now? Why was this necessary? Like, gosh, I don't even know what else I would say.
Something she did there, which is really common, is saying why, which we tend to want to avoid why, because why puts people on the defensive. We want to get to the why, but sometimes saying it a different way, if you can reframe it with a what, it's usually more helpful. Like,
So in this example, she asked, why
was that necessary?
Why was this necessary? Okay. And the better question, what is the what in that question?
It might be, help me understand your thinking in that moment. What made it necessary for you guys to practice more? What was the idea behind that? So it's these small shifts of intentionality when we're engaging in conversation. So it's so often we can go off on really like, why did you do that? Why was that your decision, right? And you can even feel me like in this attacking, and then we go into defense mode. Versus it's just even sometimes the shift in your thinking. So it's not always the exact words that you have to say, but just, I really want to understand my partner and what was going on.
It's really
with
disarming when you say, help me understand, versus why did you do this? Yeah. Those small intentions, I think, mean a lot, especially in this. That's really interesting.
Because it puts you against me versus us against the problem. Like when it's help me understand. I want to know more about what was going on. Like, I know I was hurt and I want to help us figure this out so we don't run into this in the future. That's really different than, why did you do this? Right? Yeah. Even if you say it in a nice way, why'd you do that?
Because the defensive answer there is like, this is my dreams. This is like, and what are you now against my dreams? Mm-hmm. That is me versus you. Yeah. Wow. Great point. We hear all the time that like a secret to healthy relationships is good communication. What is good communication? What is the anatomy of that?
Good communication is all about presence. Like, that is the foundation of it. Am I here with you? Am I really listening to you? We can all hear, right? We can all hear and take in the audible words that this person is saying, but am I really listening? Am I taking in your body language, your facial expression, your tone, the words you're using, knowing the context? Am I really listening to try and understand what's underneath? I say to couples, like, listen for what hurts, right? If you could almost get a subtitle for what your partner's saying.
What hurts to you or
hurts them?
What hurts them, okay.
So what I'm talking about, right? If I'm talking about, my friend didn't call me back today and I was so upset about that, I'm really listening like, oh, you felt like not cared about in that moment. I didn't actually say that, but that's me really trying to understand and put myself in my partner's shoes. So it's that presence. When we have that, I'm not thinking of my grocery list or what I'm going to say back, right? Of like, or problem solving of like, this is what you should do. It's me just being with you. That's the base of all good communication. I mean, I statements are great and reflecting's great and all those skills, but I think it really comes down to this presence. Are you here with me? We're wired for connection. Like, so do you see me? Do I matter? Am I important to you? That's what I want to feel. And that's when it's presence. Right? You're not on your phone, you're not over here, you're not just checked out. You're with me in it.
Wow. There's a really good, something that was a big learning in my life was the difference between empathy versus sympathy. Mm-hmm. And I heard it in the context of if someone's going through a really hard time, I'm someone who's very logical, that likes to be like, okay, you're going through a really hard time, solutions. Mm-hmm. Like, how do we find a solution to this? And I had an incident where someone was really going through a really hard time, and I sort of went into solution mode, and they had this really adverse reaction where they're like, just stop. Mm-hmm. And I realized in that moment what I was doing was sort of silver lining their situation, making it, by offering solutions, I think the subtle undertone of that is, hey, what you're going through it wouldn't be as overwhelming as if I went through it, because I can come up with the solutions right away. Mm. And I didn't realize that. And in that moment, just realizing that if I was just someone to listen in a way that is, I'm glad you told me this, I'm here for you, and not going into any other way of it. Empathy's like fueling connection. I think sympathy is actually driving a little bit of disconnection in that way. It was a huge learning for me, and I see a lot of similarities in what you're saying there too.
Yeah, and problem solving comes from a good place most of the time, right? Someone we care about is hurting, and I have the solution. I think I can help you with this. But you're right, it sends that message, what you were saying, but also your feelings, no, let's go over here, right? So it's that I want to be with you in your feelings, and a shift, like if someone tends to be more problem solving, which men in American culture tend to be very like solution focused, that's how we're kind of socialized. The doing is the listening. And that shift can help of like, when I want to do something, I want to help, the doing is this, being present. And I have a lot of clients be like, it doesn't feel like I'm doing anything, but it's like, ask your partner, how do they feel? I feel heard, I feel seen, this is what I wanted and connected. Yeah. And sometimes problem solving we do need to get to, like sometimes there is like an actual solution, but that always comes second, right? And that's not very often. It's like once we feel heard, and once we actually know what's going on, that's the other thing. If we go to problem solving too quickly, we might not be solving for the right issue versus like this is what I'm really feeling. Yeah. Right?
You mentioned a couple times this word agreement when it comes to these situations. Talk to me about that. What is an agreement? How should someone go about creating an agreement? I think someone in this situation, their answer was, hey, I didn't like that, but going forward, why don't we create an agreement? That's actually the first time I've heard of relationships in that manner. So would love just context on how you think about that, or how we should think about that in relationships.
And it's interesting that you're saying it's the first time you've heard of relationship agreement, but you have them. In all of our relationships, we have agreements, even friendships and family relationships. They're just not talked about a lot of times. A relationship agreement is saying like, these are the boundaries of our relationship. This is what we agree as a partnership, or in any relationship dynamic, but as we're talking about partnerships, that is okay for us. Right? And anything in here and within this sphere is good, we're connected, we're in that we-ness and team, and when we step outside of that, if you break that agreement without the other person's consent, that is an infidelity, that's a broken agreement. So infidelity doesn't always involve other people. You know, we can have financial agreements. We talk to each other if we make any purchase, you know, over $1,000, your partner makes a purchase over $1,000, that's being unfaithful, that's infidelity. But nothing gets us going like infidelity that includes somebody else. So it's these agreements of, this is what we are okay with, this is the dynamic and boundaries of our relationships. And so many of them are unsaid, and this is where people get into trouble, or in these different dynamics where someone's a 3 and someone's a 7, right? And so it's really, and we can't talk about every relationship scenario that might happen, but having a good sense of like what is generally okay or not okay, or what would make me feel betrayed, what would make you feel betrayed, is really important. So we have that sense of like these guideposts. Because I think if we have these guideposts, it's not meant to confine us. It's actually meant to give us more freedom. Because if I know here's the boundaries, then I can play all in here freely and know where that is, and we can feel like we're in this together. Versus if I don't know, I'm like, and
it's freeing versus being like, is the guidepost this big, and like, is my pen this small, or is it, yeah, that's really interesting. When I hear an agreement, it sounds very much like, okay, at the start of a partnership, we're going to list out all the rules, but like life, there are going to be problems and things that you don't even know about when you first created an agreement. What are sort of the solutions or the way someone should go about when you're sort of in uncharted territory? There is no guideline in this area of life right now. Yeah. How do you open up those conversations of, or advice in that sort of world of maybe amending the agreement or creating a new amendment in the relationship or that agreement?
When you're in a new phase of life or you're experiencing something new, it's communicating about it. You know, talking about it, acknowledging it, and then hearing what's going on with each person. Like, it doesn't always have to be this like formal, we're gonna write down our agreements, but it can be like, how do you feel about this? You know, this thing has changed. You know, what do you think about that? You know, it can come even like if you're, okay, we always said we're gonna live here, I have this new job offer over here. we might have to amend that. Like we always said, we're going to grow and grow our family and grow here. Of like, hey, I have this opportunity. What do you think about that? What do you feel about that? What would this be like? So it's a lot of open communication without the pressure of like, we have to do this thing.
Makes sense. In this situation, it's one of the first times where I think the person who is at fault, how are we going to define that, the actor in the situation, is sort of in a pickle. Like, let's just say in that week they are in some sort of remote place where they can't communicate. What are the guidelines of communicating when you are in a pickle? What should that person do? Like, how should you communicate if you're probably someone that is sort of at fault? Does that make sense?
If we're talking about this scenario, this person actually did probably what they should do. As soon as they got home and back to their partner, I mean, even if they weren't in a remote place, maybe they're in the workflow, and that's not an excuse. I never want it to be an excuse. It's understanding, right? Understanding so we can adjust, so we can grow, so we can learn. So whether they're in a remote place, they're in flow, like those days are on, whatever the reason is that they weren't communicating, they came home and immediately told their partner. Right? They didn't wait for it to be discovered or disclosed, and so that's really it. If you're in this pickle or something's coming up, go to your partner as early as you can. Right? Talk to them. And even if it's, like, do I have to tell them about this other person? In this scenario, I mean, it clearly involved another person, but a lot of times infidelity becomes a slippery slope. Many people don't go out looking for it. Not that it like lands on their doorstep, but it's like one little thing and then one little thing. And so it's, can you pause and go, why am I on this slope? What's happening? And can I communicate that to my partner?
Yeah, that's interesting. I love the financial situation. I've never thought of, when you immediately think of infidelity, you do think of it involving another person in some sort of romantic pursuit. But if it's an agreement, yeah, there's so many different areas that you could be cheating on. Yeah, that's interesting.
There's so many, and there's nothing like involving another person with sex or emotion that make people go leave, right, immediately. When there's so many ways that people can really behave poorly in relationships. And I'm not saying you should be like accepting of these things either, but it's looking at the bigger picture of why is it this one scenario, it's like immediately you have to leave and you're weak if you stay, versus there's so many things where there can be so many broken agreements. You know, even spending time together or showing up, you know, people can make agreements of spending time at work or hobbies or lots of other things. So infidelity is this very wide thing, but we tend to like narrow. And I think it's because when it involves somebody else, it impacts our sense of self and our sense of specialness. You know, we are supposed to be everything to our partner, and when you find somebody else, like, what does that mean about me? And so it feels much, much bigger.
Okay, ready to go on to scenario number 3?
Yes.
Your significant other of 6 months loves coffee and lives right next to a fantastic coffee shop. They stop in there 4 to 5 times a week, and one day reveal to you that the person behind the counter will give them a discount if they flirt with them. How is the coffee always better when you make it? Not gonna lie, I low-key time my coffee runs when I know you're working. If I start coming here more often, it's definitely your fault. Your partner assures you it's harmless and they have no interest in the barista. But every time they go, they flirt for a discount. One day, you go in together and they introduce you as just their friend to keep the illusion going. On a scale of 1 to 10, how betrayed would you feel, if at all?
I love this scenario because there's so much that comes with this. This is the slippery slope that I was talking about. And there's so much here. So flirting in and of itself, we are meant to flirt, because flirting at its core is about attracting somebody to me, and we are wired to connect and be in community. So flirting is more innocent than we tend to give like the definition of. So then it's when does it turn into like that romantic, I'm trying to get sex from this person or have an emotional connection with them? Because we can flirt with people even if we're not, you know, they're not the gender that we're typically attracted to, or we're not trying to have that. So it's like, what is that flirting doing? And some people tend to be a little more flirty than others, right? So we're looking at that flirting. But where it started to turn a little bit was the change internally, right? I'm going to time my coffees to be with this person. Or if I'm changing how I look or make sure my hair's done before I go in, or especially this introducing as a friend, right? That's when we want to see, or when we start to see there's this shift that's happening. And that's what we want to pay attention to, this slippery slope of like, yeah, it did start out innocent and it's flirting and sometimes we're just chatting and like, okay, I get a discount. But the more I'm starting to change my behavior and engage differently, then we start to get down that slope and it can be easier to open up those gates, right?
Interesting.
Ready, set, reveal.
Wow.
Wow.
So Anya with a 6.9, Vanessa with a 5.
She really lives in that like six
Which
space.
one, Anya or Vanessa?
Anya.
Anya, yeah.
Right? I mean, the photos were 6.5 and then this
Yes.
is 6.9.
Velko with a 3
Oh, wow.
and Craig with an 8.5.
Okay.
Wow.
So I found it interesting that the guys were at both of the ends and the girls were sandwiched in the middle here. The lowest we have on this one's a 3, the highest an 8.5.
Woo.
We're actually going to give these scenarios and give this form out to the public to play with us and get all this data and be able to make sort of box and whisker plots of what is the average number for a scenario and see the standard deviations of how far people would feel betrayed. So when someone can hear the same thing and go 3 and someone else goes an 8.5, that's also another reason this topic just fascinates me. Yeah.
And because none of them are wrong. Like there's no right or wrong to this. It's so individual and to each individual and partnership. But this really shows why you have to talk to your partner about it. Because if you're the 8.5 and the 3 and you're in partnership together, like that's going to create an issue. And so it's better to talk about it ahead of time. But it's also hard because when we're talking about relationship agreements, you're not going to be like, here's this very specific scenario. I mean, obviously you're not going to play this game. So you have to know kind of where those boundaries are and know for yourself too. Like I said, when you start to feel these internal changes for yourself, like I'm on this slippery slope, and that's the time to pause and really check yourself, because I think I work with a lot of people that are like, I can handle this. I'm like, oh, we're going down though. And like, it's because I worked with people who are thinking about engaging in affairs or are actively engaging or find themselves in scenarios like this where, you know, I'm hearing about that person a little bit more. And so we have to really pay attention to that.
Vanessa,
Okay.
we'll start with a 5.
Okay. I have 5 because I would definitely confront. I don't think it's cheating, like the flirting is harmless, but I think I would be like, why are you calling me your friend? That was insane.
Interesting how she so easily goes, that flirting's harmless, but looking at the photos, she was really like, had a lot of feelings about the photos immediately. This is where the context matters for her so much. Like, what does it mean to look at the photos? Why is flirting harmless? Like, when does it become not
The photos
harmless?
being the Instagram.
Sorry, yes,
Yeah,
the
Explore
Instagram,
page, yep.
right? The Explore page. She was really, I think, had a lot of feelings about that. Like, me, like this does not make sense. But the flirting with an actual human, like an engaging with another person that's like physically present, that is probably more likely that this person could like have contact with, because they have contact or in the same space, versus this person online, which of course you could have contact, you could be in their DMs, but who knows where in the world they live or how likely. But here, so that's where it's like, I want to know more about her, right? Like, you can't just judge immediately, and it's like, why is that? Why the photos feel this so strong, and why does flirting feel harmless?
Harmless, yeah.
And then where does it go over?
Yeah. Okay, interesting. That's a great point. I didn't even make that connection. But that's why you're in your job, and I'm in my job.
And that was insane. Like, we're going back in there right now. Also, like, why does this man need a discount on his coffee? Is he broke? That's the other thing. Like, that's another thing that I'm like, how important is this discount? Like, it's kind of odd. But I don't know. A little harmless flirting. That doesn't bother me. That doesn't really upset me. I think, again, it just depends how much you trust your partner. 6 months, it depends.
A little, right? 1.1 below considering it cheating.
Yes, because it's not cheating, but what the fuck? Like, that's crazy to be like flirting every single day. Like, it's not like a harmless, like, I don't know, like that's.
Okay, so she used the same word. It's not harmless. So that's where we have to understand, what does harmless mean? When does it cross that line? Like, what is okay? And these are really important conversations for people to have, because it can be like, for him, it could be really harmless. And for her, it's like, no, it's like almost there. So these are discussions you want to have with your partner.
Goes back to that agreement. And what, makes sense.
Like laying it on kind of heavy, like, oh, like you might have to make me come back in here for you. Like, that's creepy and weird. If my boyfriend's out in public like that.
That made me think of something else. She said boyfriend. They've been dating 6 months. Have they had this discussion? Maybe it is a friend. Have they made it official in whatever that means? So that's where context matters too. I mean, it sounds like it's set up in a way that they are like dating more, but it might be like, have we actually had that discussion? The agreement that we are exclusive? Because if we've had that and you're introducing me as a friend, that feels pretty messed up. I mean, that's the broken agreement. Yeah. But if we haven't had that conversation yet, that's something important to pay attention to you for. Oh, I feel like more than a friend. Maybe we need to have this discussion.
Just like being like, oh, I might have to come back in here for you. I'm like, what the hell? Like, ew, that's embarrassing to me because I meet this girl out there somewhere and I'm like, oh, I have a boyfriend. And she's like, she sees a picture. She's like, oh my God, that guy tells me like these compliments every single day. I'm like, that's embarrassing and makes me feel so gross and weird. I don't want.
So why not a 7?
Because it's not cheating. He didn't like cheat. They're not. I think like cheating has to do with dishonesty and like also physical stuff too. But because there's this gray area where like it could be a little harmless. Like maybe bro is super fucking broke and like
then why are you with him?
Really needs that discount.
I'm just kidding.
Needs that discount.
I'm totally joking.
I know he should be making it at home. If he loves coffee that much, he should learn how to make it at home.
True.
You see her kind of working here on like, what does cheating mean? You even hear her go like, it's cheating, like almost like duh. And I think that is so often how we approach it. Like, I know what cheating is to me. I know where my lines are. So it's almost like, don't you just get it? But this is where we have to really slow down and articulate it. And even where she's like, it's physical stuff. So often when there is physicality, when there's sex, so many of the people I work with, they're like, I mean, they're not happy that their partner has had sex with somebody else. It's often more the emotional piece, the dishonesty. You came home and lied to me. You looked me in the eye every day and lied to me. That often tends to be a bigger pain point than like the sex. The sex is a painful piece. So it's interesting, like, but so many people say that, right? If it crosses in, I haven't done anything physical. I haven't had sex with them. I haven't done this with them. But I'm lying to my partner, I feel connected to them. And so that's where we really, I think, have to slow down and define it. And sometimes it's not till we're in it that we realize like where the pain points are, but you see her working kind of through that, right?
And you're about to see an interesting part of this conversation.
And then we didn't even get to the part
friend.
We didn't get to that part yet.
The friend is crazy.
Calling me, that is insane. I would be like, that's because then you're hiding
But you just said
something.
cheating's dishonesty. That was a dishonest thing he just did.
You got me there. You got me there.
Not necessarily towards her.
Yeah,
in a way.
it's true.
I don't know, but
I just find that it's 0.1 off 7 really interesting. That like it is like you're just on the border
It's
of considering
just-
it cheating versus not, and you're almost leaning more forgiving than not. But that's interesting. What your definition of, or like the definition you're coming to, it's like a form of dishonesty. It sounds like directly towards you, some sort of physical nature. I think a big part of this video is trying to understand that definition. So.
Yeah, it's definitely like very, very, very. It's like pushing all those limits
Yeah.
where it feels like he's hiding something, and that's weird.
Got it.
And yeah.
So here's where I'm at. I don't know. I think this is cheating, and if not, this is a person that is going to be cheating soon. That's my take. I don't think that I would want to be in I actually had a 7.5 and I changed it to an 8.5 because I don't want to be in a relationship with someone like that. I feel like we all probably know someone that's like kind of scummy. They do stuff like that to get a discount or whatever. They just kind of manipulate. It's really, in my mind, you've described, no.
But what?
Anyway.
So he described this behavior as scummy, where Vanessa described it as harmless flirting. Like for her, it didn't get until it was you're introducing me as the friend that felt like the part that didn't feel good. He's describing like the flirting to get the discount as scummy. Right? So I think this is where those definitions really matter. For him, that does not feel good to him. For her, she's like, yeah, it's harmless flirting. Like, okay, the discount, do you really need that? But it feels like this kind of like thing. For him, it feels pretty heavy. And that's where the same exact behavior can be felt very differently by different people. Neither of them are wrong, right? We're not here to be like, you're right and you're wrong. They're both right. They're both allowed to feel whatever they're gonna feel. It's, are we talking to our partners about it?
Now, you've described a very manipulative person that just tries to use their charisma or whatever to take advantage of other people. So I'm just not a fan of this person at all. And so if I realize that's my partner of 6 months, I'm like, get me out of this relationship.
Facts.
What makes this even worse is I'm not a coffee person. So I'm going to have to, after she introduces me as her friend, order a hot chocolate. So I'm not in my arena. Like, this is like the worst place she could do this to me. So it's an 8.5.
Got it.
Yeah.
So funny. And then all the way on the lowest of ends, a 3.
Yeah. I love a good con. I love, a discount. But if she's telling me that she's conning right away, day one con, then I'm in. And I'm helping her get dressed, going to the coffee shop. I'm like, show those collarbones, because she got nice collarbones. And then if I'm in there with her and she's like, that's my friend, I'm like, I barely know her, but nice collarbones. She should get free coffee, you know what I mean? Like, I'm fully invested in the con,
Nice collarbones.
What he's describing, though, like all jokes in there, I mean, he's saying we're in it, if we're in it together, because that's what infidelity is, right? It's like, you're there, I'm here, the thing has been broken. But if we're in this together, then yeah, we're the team against the barista. We're getting the discount. We're in this, I'm in the know, there's no dishonesty here. So he has the context. He added that context. That's where context is really key. He's going, we're in this together, we're a team, versus like, you're scummy and you're doing this without my consent.
Yeah. Going back to Anya's point, a big part of this, and I think this situation, it's time to ask you the question. What is cheating?
Cheating does not have a universal definition, because what is cheating to you may not be cheating to me, and vice versa. So cheating is any time there's a relational agreement that's been broken without the other person's consent. Like, that is the kind of the only universal definition I will give. But what those agreements are is different for everybody.
Given that definition or how people view it, why do people cheat?
Why do people cheat is such a good question and such a broad answer. You have to ask the person. I can't answer that because it is so individual. Yeah. It is not because that person doesn't have any morals, or they're a narcissist, or they're any one thing, which is usually what you hear, right? You have to leave them, they're this, they're that.
Because we want to make them villains. Going back to the very first thing we talked about. Yeah.
We don't want to see them as human. Because if they're human, then my very human partner could do the same thing, and that feels really scary. Like, if I see them as a villain, this certain thing, that's not my partner, that's not coming in my life. Versus if we see it in the very gray, oh shoot, that could be in my life too. That feels really scary. So people cheat for all kinds of reasons. Sometimes it's, how they're feeling in the relationship and they're not communicating that. Sometimes it's about their own sense of self. I mean, happy people cheat, which is always also very scary. Like, I'm happy in my relationship. You're saying this could happen to me, because it might be how I feel in that. That's what infidelity is often about. It's not about the other person. It's usually about how I felt with that person, who I got to be or not be, and what I got to experience in that.
And now that I know the context of agreements and cheating being a breaking of that agreement, maybe in just like simple terms, how common is a situation of infidelity when people don't know the agreements? I think I'm curious how many people don't know their own agreements with their partner, and so they don't know that guardrail, and how often cheating happens simply because they don't know those guardrails, rather than it being an extremely intentional form of it. Does that make sense?
I think what happens is people assume agreements a lot. Going back to like watching porn, right? A lot of people just assume, if I believe it's okay to watch porn or not okay, that my partner's on board, because we're on the same page about so many things. So I think that's where kind of the breaking of agreements can happen, but it's really, I'm breaking the agreement that you assumed. I didn't actually agree to that, and I had a different assumption than you. And so that's where we can get into sometimes these extreme ends, like the 8.5 and the 3. And the important thing is not to say that either one of them is wrong, right? If the 8.5 and 3 are in partnership with each other, it's not going, well, you broke this and you're at fault and it's all you. It's like, we didn't actually communicate about this. And just because you feel strongly about it, like I feel strongly on this end, neither of us are wrong. How do we approach this together without making the other person feel like it's all them? Because it can be easy to go, the one who feels betrayed, to point the finger and be like, you did this.
Totally. Craig said something really interesting in the beginning of his talk where he said, I don't think what this person's doing is technically cheating, but I do believe this person is going to be a cheater. When we think about these actions and maybe something that is harmless, as some people say, or as scummy, is it safe to assume those larger things? Can these sort of actions be representative of a bigger problem?
I don't think these actions can be always a representative of bigger problems, because I've worked with so many people who said, I never thought I'd be the one to cheat. I am so against cheating. I have cheating in my family. I know I've been cheated on. I know what it feels like. It's part of my values, my morals, and I landed here. So they gave no kind of outward signs in that sense. Like even their value system went against it. And so we can't just say like these behaviors lead to that. And I think we have to look at patterns of behavior. I mean, our behaviors can say a lot. Like, I'm not saying, oh, whatever, it doesn't matter. But like our behaviors do say a lot, but we're looking more for patterns of behavior, how much we're aware of them. We all have baggage. We have that saying, we all have baggage. And the problem, it's not that we have baggage. It's, do we know what's in that baggage? Have we unpacked it? Do we know what we're carrying with us to the next relationship? Because we can't just get rid of it. But do we know what's in there and how to work with it? So that's really what we're looking at. Like, does this person have a pattern of being dishonest and not being able to communicate with their partner? But even then, it's not like I'm going to say, here's this formula of like who's going to cheat. Because as we were talking about earlier, there's a lot of ways to be unfaithful with partners. So it's like, are they going to do it with another person? I don't know. Are they going to do it with their work? Are they going to check out and disassociate or whatever it is? So there's lots of ways.
That's a great answer. All right, scenario number 4.
You've been seeing someone for 2 months. It's very honeymoony. You two see each other or FaceTime every single day. One afternoon, when scrolling TikTok together, you notice that they get a notification from Hinge, a flirtatious DM from someone else. They quickly swipe it away and continue to scroll. On a scale of 1 to 10, how betrayed would you feel, if at all?
Are you dating this person, or are you like just starting to see them? Like you're like 8 weeks into this relationship.
8 weeks into hanging out almost every single day.
But there hasn't been like a formal like, will you be my girlfriend? Like that hasn't happened.
Ready?
My answer there was no. There hasn't been that formal answer, but.
I mean, those are important questions, right? 8 weeks can be long and short. And so knowing what's our agreement? Have we talked about this? Am I assuming, or are you assuming something?
Set, reveal.
What the hell? You're psycho.
That's fair.
No,
We're ready.
Listen,
Okay.
I have an explanation.
Anya with the 10, Vanessa with the 5.
Whoa!
My answer.
I have an
We
explanation.
have a full
Wow.
Yeah, we do have
scale.
Velko with the 0, and Craig with the 5.
A 0, 2 5s, and a 1 0, a 10. Let's get a close up of that on it if you want to really extend that. There we go.
I have a reason.
We're gonna hold your reason to the end. Okay. Tell me about the 0.
It's nothing's official. That's out the gate. 8 weeks, that's nothing. So when you download Hinge and you go premium, there's a 3-month option. So I'm not deleting the app if I go 3 months premium. I gotta ride it out. Even if we commit, I gotta just ride it out. I gotta see.
Craig?
Yep, 5.
A perfect 5.
Yeah.
Right in the middle.
I would like an explanation, but
How would you confront that? You're scrolling TikTok.
what was
together.
that? I think that's exactly what I say. I would be a little bit weird about it, but I don't know. I didn't really think too hard on it. I think it's just like a I'm not super concerned because they're just on Hinge, but.
Vanessa.
I too am 5. I think it's definitely worth a conversation of being like, oh, are you seeing other people? Like I mean, it's hard to imagine the scenario because if you're seeing someone every single day and FaceTiming every night, I like can't really imagine that you wouldn't have this conversation, even for like safety. Like, oh, are you like sleeping with other people? If, you know, I don't know. But so, yeah, if I saw that, I would just be like, oh, are you seeing other people? Like, I really want to know. Yeah, but only 8 weeks in, it's kind of benign. I guess it depends, but I don't know.
So the interesting thing here, because the question is, how betrayed do you feel? And a lot of them are more talking about like confronting their partner. I mean, they're not really talking about feeling betrayed. And that's maybe where it's a little, this one falls in that category. Like, I wonder if we could say like, I'd feel down here, but I'd still talk to them about it. Because that's almost what I'm hearing from them. It's not like I feel this betrayal because we didn't necessarily have an agreement, but I'm curious about it and I'm kind of wondering where do we stand.
Let's open the conversation for this agreement.
Yes, let's talk about it. Where are we at? So I'm wondering if that's why some of them went more in the 5 here because of kind of how we've framed it. But if it's that actual feeling of betrayal, which if that's how they feel, remember feelings are always valid. So whatever they feel is valid. But it's really looking at, I think, even if your feelings are valid, we want to be curious about them sometimes. Like, why do you feel betrayed after 8 weeks when you haven't had this conversation? Like, where is that coming from? Have you gotten any other signs? Do we want to have a conversation about it? And that's what I'm hearing a lot from them. It's like, I'm curious about this and I want to talk to this person about it, which is what we want to do when these feelings come up, rather than like shove those down, like talk about it.
And Anya, the first
Okay.
The first 10.
Because, well, I can explain. It's 10 because, so you said to interpret this as the, like, if it was our age, because my answer to this would have been super different when I was younger. Like, in college, the fuck, I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't know. Everyone's sort of, like, figuring their shit out. It's different, but, like, now that I'm in my, can I say late 20s? Oh, God. I mean, sorry. I'm like, I guess I'm like in my late, oh, sorry. I don't know how old you are. Are you older than, I don't know.
I'm 42 years old.
So, yeah, it's different. Like, there was like, most of my life it was casual dating. And then now that I'm in my, like, late 20s, I am dating for more, I just don't want to like fuck around and waste my time. And so if I'm talking to someone for 8 weeks straight, every single day, FaceTiming every single night, and we're in bed together, so we're sleeping together, like all that, and then they're still on Hinge, I would be like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like I say 10, so I would just be like, I don't want to continue this. Like,
that's how you'd confront them. Like, what would the situation be?
I would be like, you're on Hinge? This is weird. Like, I feel like we would have talked about that before, but if we like somehow hadn't, like, that would to me be like, okay, we're in this for 8 weeks. We've been talking every single day. I've been putting in a lot of my time. We're like older in a way, I guess. And like, when I'm with someone where I'm like, oh my God, we're so excited about each other, I don't want to go on Hinge and like look for other opportunities, like, ooh, what else is out there, and like entertain other options. Like, ideally, when you're with each other for 8 weeks straight and you really like them and you're not on Hinge and you've like been like, oh, this is what I'm putting my energy into, and they're just like messing around, I'm like, okay, I'm not pursuing this any longer.
That makes sense.
I agree with everything you say, but do you think it's considered cheating? Because I agree that you would be like, okay, like I'm taking a step back. But like, is it cheating technically if you haven't had the conversation?
Well,
like, technically.
But then you can't, but then it's like the scale doesn't even really apply, because if you're not in a relationship, it can't be cheating.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
so
good point.
to me, I just put 10 as in like, it would be over.
Yeah.
No mercy or grace in that situation. Done.
No, because it says all that it needs to say. If they're like if there was some crazy explanation, they had the 3-month premium plan and they couldn't get it to download, something happened. I don't know, guys. I think it'd take a lot.
Wait, does the 3 months that is in the lot?
No,
like that
it's
works?
not. I'm saying it would take a lot to come back from that.
Yeah.
So
true. I think that's a really important conversation. Is it cheating, or is this just somebody I'm not interested in, like values-wise, or we're not aligned? And that's where trying to sort through. Like,
Yeah, I think this is the one scenario where this sort of scale does break down a little bit, especially because it is important if she wrote a 10 and now we're labeling that person a cheater,
yes.
even though there isn't really disagreement. Like this scenario was built on that ambiguity. That's a really dangerous thing to do.
And it's really important for her to pay attention to those feelings. Again, those feelings, like for her, very clear, mean a lot to her, that this is not, there's a misalignment here. And so whether you want to call it cheating or not, she needs to pay attention to that. You know, sometimes if we get to, I know obviously we're talking about it in this, but for her, she needs to say, that doesn't feel right to me. Like if I'm in this and you're not, that feels like a misalignment.
Yeah.
That's where she's at. I mean, obviously we're talking about it here, but the more important thing I think is for her to pay attention to those feelings.
You've said something a couple times in this that I love, and it's feelings are always valid. Feelings are what comes out of the feelings. Maybe like we can have that discussion, but your feelings are always valid. In this situation, let's just say Anya and this partner of 8 weeks, if she confronts that partner and that partner's like, you're crazy. Like I don't, you're going over the top right now with this. Like we've never had an agreement. I actually don't think your feelings are valid. How often does that situation happen? And if those two were to come into your office, what would you say to those two?
It happens all the time. All the time. In new relationships and long-term relationships, like you can't feel that way. You shouldn't feel that way. And that's where couples get stuck, because we're talking about should you or shouldn't you, and we're on this like level that we're not really able to move forward. So that's where we go, my partner feels what they feel, right? For example, if I feel angry, that feeling valid. If I throw something at you, if I break something, that's not valid, right? I need to own my feelings, acknowledge them, and communicate them clearly. Now, you may disagree with me. You may think it's over the top, it's an inappropriate response, but you can still validate me. And this is a really important key in relationships. You can validate somebody without agreeing with them. And if we can master this, we can work through so many more disagreements in a better way that feels connecting. But it's really hard for a lot of people, because if you're like, I don't think you should be angry, or I don't think you should feel that, how do I validate that? And the key is to be like, my partner feels this, right? Whatever their reality is. Like if they're thinking, okay, they perceived me as disrespecting them or not paying attention to them. Okay, can I tap into that feeling when I have felt disrespected or not cared for, or whatever it is? That doesn't feel good, especially when it's coming from my partner. So if we kind of take away the scenario that it's in and go to the core feelings, that's how you validate. Yeah. It doesn't feel good when you feel unimportant. I don't want you to feel unimportant. I want you to know that I love you, I'm with you in this, right? That's really different, because I'm going to the feeling. I'm not validating, I'm not even saying I did what you're saying I did, but I'm going to the feeling and with you in it.
That's, I think, one of the biggest keys of, to me, that feels like what maturing is, when you can feel the difference between, what you said, feelings are always valid, or you can validate feelings but not validate action. Or you said something that was a really good
You can disagree and still validate somebody. You don't have to agree with them. Validation doesn't equal agreement.
Yeah. So if we continue with this example of like Anya and this partner, they just had this moment where Anya is having this reaction. She's feeling betrayed, 10 out of 10 betrayed by this. Her partner, let's say, validates that feeling, like, I acknowledge that you feel betrayed. What is an example of what that person should do? How should that person start a conversation with Anya? She feels extremely betrayed, but he wants to fix this situation because he didn't really understand her feeling, because he didn't have that feeling. What should that person do?
That person should start with trying to understand more, really ask genuine curiosity questions. Like, help me understand why this is so big for you, why this is a 10 out of 10, why you felt betrayed. You know, we had been dating for 8 weeks, we hadn't had the conversation. I want to know why this feels so important to you, where your values lie. Right? So I'm not going, why you shouldn't feel this way. It's help me understand that. Yeah. Right? Okay, I hear you. It's really painful for you. Feel like I must have been doing something secretively, or whatever it is, right? Validating that. Okay, do I understand you? Making sure that she feels really understood. I have a bit of a different perspective can I share that with you so we can figure this out together? So it's making sure he's attending to the person who kind of comes hurt first. Not that his feelings don't matter, but we're going to attend to this person so you feel really cared for, so you can hear me better. Especially when we're talking about something where we disagree, especially if it's a big thing. It's so easy to go this, tit for tat. And then we're buried and we're like, where are we even? But it takes a lot. It takes a lot of skill.
Especially in a heated moment. Heated, yeah.
That's where a lot of people, because they'll be like, okay, even if they can go, help me understand. And they're like, but, you know, you really want to try and understand your partner. And sometimes it, you know, even, I'm a professional and it's still even in my relationship, sometimes I have to, okay, let me really try to hear my partner's perspective, put my stuff aside, not be thinking about my rebuttal, how I felt, how you wronged me, but let me put that aside to hear you. But this takes trust, because I have to trust if I'm going to attend to you and care for you first, then when it's my turn to take my stuff and make it center, you're going to attend to me.
Yeah,
Right?
that's great.
Your significant other of 1 year tells you that they are going to the monthly happy hour after work. On the team includes Jordan, their direct desk mate. You briefly met Jordan once, and honestly, you felt like they were quite flirtatious, and it was obvious both of them, them and this significant other, get along well. That night, your significant other comes home later than expected. When you ask where they were, oh, sorry, I went to the happy hour with the team, and then afterwards, Jordan said we should get a quick bite to eat. So we went to the sushi place around the corner. On a scale of 1 to 10, how betrayed would you feel, if at all?
So they went to this happy hour and then went to get dinner with this person.
One-on-one.
One-on-one. And there's no prior worries or...
I think in this scenario, you met this coworker once, and you're like, oh, they're definitely like a flirtatious type, and like my significant other and them get along well. Haven't really mentioned anything, and one day your significant other comes home a little later than expected, and you ask them, hey, where were you? And they're like, oh yeah, like I did the happy hour, and then after got a like one-on-one, Jordan asked me to get dinner, so I went to get dinner at that like sushi place around the corner.
I would be interested in, is this typical behavior? Is this out of the norm? Do they tend to do this? How do they feel, both partners feel about friendships or relationships with people of the opposite sex? I'd want a little more context.
Yeah.
Set, reveal.
Oh.
So that's a 4.9, and Vanessa did a 1.
Interesting.
Both of the guys, and then Velko did a 5, and Craig did a 6.
So what this makes me think of initially is when we're going back to those like Instagram photos, and it was kind of like opposite numbered, like the women had higher numbers than the men. It almost makes me think of that stereotype of men cheat for sex and women cheat for emotions, and these are things, you know, where we're looking at sexy people, that's leading more towards sex. A dinner is more of like an emotional connection, so there's more fear there.
Whoa.
You know?
Okay, yeah. Interesting, yeah.
I mean, obviously I don't know if that's where it's coming, but
Yeah.
it's like, oh, okay, so it's like, what's happening there?
So when you hear a stereotype like that, obviously you don't ever want to be like, this is a blanket true statement, but it is almost a useful tool, it sounds like, at least to...
I don't think it's a useful tool. I think
Okay.
it's playing out here.
Okay.
I don't think we're saying, I think these are showing up in how we conceptualize infidelity or the messaging that we've gotten in it, because I don't think, I mean, from that scenario, we don't know what's going on.
True.
But it might be, you might be more likely to interpret a situation as this could be infidelity, or you're on that track because I have these stereotypes.
Yeah.
Vanessa,
Oh my goodness.
a 1.
I honestly almost wrote 0, but then I thought maybe 1 if if it's something that makes you feel a tiny bit, like a touch uncomfortable. But I noticed in the prompt, even if this person is flirtatious towards your coworker, it doesn't say anything that like they're flirtatious back. Like it says they get along, but like
Doesn't it say they have a connection or something?
I would say just get along well.
Oh.
Yeah.
I just get along. Like, I don't know, that just doesn't really bother me. Like, I trust my partner, and like they can have a meal with anybody, especially like a coworker. It's all good.
All right, Anya, a 4.9.
I did a 4.9 because I wouldn't confront. I don't think it's worth a confrontation. I think it's just like sort of weird activity. Like I would be like, oh, that's strange if she's being super flirty to you all the time and then asking you to get like dinner after your happy hour and you guys are all drunk getting dinner like one-on-one. I'm like, okay, that's just kind of weird. But again, I wouldn't confront. So that's why I put 4.9, where I'd be like, I'd just be like, that seems like a little unnecessary, but it's okay, I guess.
Yeah.
But I'm making this face. I'm like, okay, interesting.
You
So
clock it.
I'm clocking it.
For the second monthly happy hour, if the same thing happens, would you then confront?
She would purchase a gun.
I would.
Please cut that.
I would purchase. Maybe then I would say something small. Again, I don't think this would make me like upset. It just is like a little sus, where I'm like, okay, I just want to know, like, are you like entertaining this, or is this just super like how do you feel if it's, because in the prompt it's saying like she's clearly being flirty, so it's like, how do you feel? I would ask my partner, like, does this not feel weird to you that she keeps wanting to hang out with you one-on-one?
Why not ask her partner? Like she's so close to that 5, and she's like, I'm gonna make this face. I think it's sus. Like there's a lot of feelings coming up, but she's putting it down. Like confront doesn't have to be this aggressive thing, right? Like what are you doing? I'm saying you're cheating. It can be like, hey, I'm having some feelings here. Can we talk about them?
Yeah.
And that's what I would encourage someone like her in this situation to do. It's like you confronting can be you just sharing your feelings. But so often I think we don't share because you don't want to make your partner feel a certain way, or you don't want to come across, actually. It's usually how it is. Like you don't want to come
seem
across
crazy that
Yes.
you're overthinking this.
But we're in this together. Your partner should want to know how you feel. And again, you can say it in ways that are very much, I'm owning my feelings. Like, I don't want to feel this way. I don't know. There's just these things coming up, and I just want to like talk about it so it's like out there, right? So it can be very disarming. It can be a small moment. But what happens is when we start to like build these things up, then we can start to like look for these things more and start to read into situations where it's not there and create a much bigger issue. We want things to be small little blips, not wait for them to like become these big things. Like a soda bottle, if you've ever like shaken a soda bottle and then you try to open it and it overflows. No. Yeah. We want to like, she wants to open it a little bit now, let a little bit out, and just in a very approachable way.
Yeah, that's so interesting that she's, again, 0.1 off confrontation. She's shading on the side of, I'm not going to actually mention anything. I can kind of, but I'll clock it. She gives that face, right? She's like, I'm going to clock this, but that's interesting.
Yeah, she had a lot of descriptors of what she was feeling. So there's a lot happening, right? The other one was like, yeah, I don't know. It's like not that big of a deal. Like she was very easy to like, you could see in her language. It's like not really raising very much. But for others, like she's like fighting with herself. Like, yeah, I'm feeling these things, but I'm wondering if she's thinking I shouldn't feel this, or I don't want to seem a certain way, or seem jealous, or these things versus like, let's just talk about it.
How do you feel?
I agree. Like a
what's
repeat
going
offense,
on?
if it's a habit, it's weird.
Yeah, I'd be
It's like
like,
a one-off, like whatever.
if they're just friends, if there's no flirtation, I wouldn't give a fuck. But like, I don't know.
You clock it. I would clock it.
Yeah, it is interesting that both of them would do it. They would confront the second time, but not the first time, even though it seems like they're equally clocking it. It's like, does that stem from they don't want to seem like they're overthinking a situation that they shouldn't be, or I don't know. I don't want to sound prescriptive of anything, but
I mean, we have to ask them, but it could be. I mean, it really be of like why. The question is like, why do I not want to come to my partner with this? Like asking yourself, why am I going down here? Because it doesn't really matter. I can like let it go. Are you putting that in that like? I can't remember the word that we used earlier, the arsenal. I was like, what is that word?
magazines.
Yeah. If you're doing that, then we need to talk. But if there are things that are like, okay, yeah, I can really let that go. Or maybe, yeah, it was a little weird, but I can move on from that. If you're like, that was weird, I'm clocking it, I'm gonna now track this, we want to talk about it. I mean, even she was saying like, if it's harmless flirtation, that's okay. But she's trying to figure that out, and she's not gonna be able to figure that out without talking to her partner. And that's really vulnerable though. That's a lot of times where people go to this side to come and say like, feeling a little uncomfortable about this, I'm having some feelings. That's, you're putting yourself out there.
It feels like a sign of weakness. Yeah.
But it's not, right? That takes so much courage to come I mean, that's like bearing yourself, even in these like seemingly small moments. And that's what we have to shift. It's not weakness, that's courage. It's a lot easier to like build up your arsenal over here than to confront your partner. And maybe confront is the word we need to shift, right?
True.
To come to your partner.
Like that.
Yeah.
We'll start with you, Velko. A 5. You're confronting your partner about this.
I confront. This is how it goes. I go, did he pay for sushi? And right when she's about to say yes, I time it. She goes, I go, mm-hmm. Right when she goes, yes, I go, mm-hmm. I just bury it. Right when, mm-hmm. And it's like a little wince. Mm-hmm. I think, and I go, that's fine. If he pays for it, you know, and if she lets him pay for it, because, you know, that's my girl. You know, we share a car. I let you know, she can split that shit. That's my money. I got mine big dog. But also, like, I'm a statistics man. So I don't ski because I know skiing very dangerous. I know work husband, work wife, that always leads to divorce. I know it's inevitable. Like, I know we're coming down that mountain and it's going to end anyway. And I know that guy's going to be at the root of it. So I'm just getting ready for it.
Wow. Yeah. Got it. Okay. You did bring up a good point. Are you two questioning if, like, who paid for it? And does that matter at all in this? If your partner in this case paid for the meal, would you two feel a type of way?
Honestly, no. I don't. I think also though, like
Like if a girl is paying for your man.
yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, that would be like, why is he
I
broke?
like that. Yes.
Why are all these men broke? No, sorry. I thought the question was like, if my
Both.
partner was paying for them.
If a girl's paying for your man.
I mean, that's just kind of embarrassing outright.
I know. I'd be
Right?
like, the what?
That's kind of tough.
There's something to be said about gender roles, I guess, and how like if you're splitting, it kind of like
Feels more friendly.
Yeah, it feels more friendly. Like I feel like when I get coffee with like a man friend or dinner with a man friend, like I'm not letting him pay for me because it sort of sends this signal. Even if I'm totally single, if I'm getting dinner with a man that I consider to be my friend, I'm like reaching for that check and I'm like, let's split this. Like I'm not letting you pay for me because that shows like a sort of vibe. So I feel like if I found out my man was like paying for it every time, I'd be like,
Just that clip alone is like insane.
paying
But
for it.
And then if
yeah.
if Jordan in
she-
this case paid for your man,
I would just ask my boyfriend and be like, what's going on? Because I don't think that this is like winning him over. Like I'm not like distrusting him like, oh my God, but I'm just like, she's obviously trying to like pounce on you. Like, why are you should probably set a boundary and be like, stop paying for my dinner and taking me out after happy hour. Like it's kind of weird.
Craig,
Oh man, I'm a 6.
You're the highest one out of everyone.
I'm gonna confront here.
Okay.
First off, I'd like to say I think it's good for shareholder value if she's that close with her teammate. So I'm happy for the company. I might invest in the stock.
Oh my God.
But I do think that I've heard so many horror stories from my
Yes,
friends of
really.
a happy hour gone wrong.
Yes.
Wow.
So here's my take. I think
I've heard that too.
a lot of times, especially guys that don't do very well with women in the workplace, it's easier for them sometimes with power dynamics or whatever to talk to girls, be flirty with girls, whatever, and can sometimes take advantage of that dynamic. They're the same age, like let's assume they're same age, same title, it makes it a little bit less concerning. But I think in general, work happy hours usually go wrong. So I'm not confronting like, hey, you're doing something terrible, but I just might confront and say, hey, you might want to be careful with like drinking with your coworkers and going out one-on-one because people at the office might talk about that and just.
His approach here is not coming from vulnerability, right? It's coming from, I'm feeling something, but I don't want to share it, so I'm going to say, like, kind of put it in this outward way, right? He's saying, you might want to be careful, people might think, versus going, I'm feeling insecure about this. I'm worried about this. You see how that's different and that's way more vulnerable, and it's going to be most likely received better if I'm coming to you as your partner and saying, I'm feeling insecure. That's really going to land differently than like, you should be careful. People are going to talk about you. I mean, can you feel like how that feels just different of like, then you're going to go on the defense versus like, oh, my partner feels insecure. I want to talk to them about that.
Yeah. It's he's protecting his ego a little bit by, no one ever wants to say that they're insecure. I feel insecure. I would never say that. I would never say that. But no, you're right. That's really interesting. That's a really interesting phrasing. I find a lot of this fascinating because what anyone wants to say, the intention is there. It's more about how you say that information. Oftentimes it's the how you say it that is probably more important than what you want to say, in the sense of the reaction you're trying to get from the other person. Yeah.
And are you saying what you're actually trying to say? Like, we talk about, couples getting stuck in the content, and that's usually when they're in my office. We're talking about the dog or the dishes or the laundry or the fight of the week, right? The content changes, but the flavor stays the same. So my job is to help them get underneath. What are you really saying? Because we have the same argument over and over again. Again, we're talking about the dog, dishes, laundry, but what we're saying is, do I matter? Am I important to you? Do you hear me? Do you respect me? And when we can get to that piece, that's how we break this cycle. So if he's gonna go to his partner like this, they're in the content. Yeah. They're up here. And they're not gonna really hear him say, I'm feeling insecure. I'm feeling unsure. Can you reassure me?
He does this interesting thing where he starts his argument with like, here is what society at large is doing. And these are the trends that I've seen with men in happy hours and what power dynamics are. And happy hours are, I think he says verbatim, like, I have heard so many horror stories about happy hours. I don't see happy hours going well. I guess, like, how do you feel about that element of like almost starting your argument with society at large does this? I guess that does go into like, that is why you should protect yourself. Yeah. So it's part of the same.
He's building his case, right? So there's something that he might not be feeling like his partner's going to take it seriously, or that he's feeling a certain way, so he needs to like prop this up, versus, again, feelings are valid, always valid. I don't need to justify my feelings. It doesn't mean that I just get to be like, that's my feeling and that's it. Like, okay, I'm feeling insecure. I understand it's because of this. Like, this is what I'm working on. Like, that's all matters about it. But there's something that's telling him I have to kind of build my case here. Yeah. And I don't know if it's partly that gender piece.
I can almost speak on it from my point of view. I think I would have done something similar to him. And it's actually now that I really think about it, it's not from a place of I'm scared to reveal that I'm insecure. I think I would have done this because sometimes you feel like your feelings are so solo, and you're like, these shouldn't be valid. And that's why I think I'm really attaching myself to when you say like your feelings are valid, like how important that is. Because it's one thing if I say, there's this fear of going, hey, I feel insecure about you going to these happy hours, and my partner going, no one else has that fear. Like, are you crazy? And I think I would have done something similar to him, being like, let me try to make my argument feel more based in this stronger foundation, because my feelings are not a strong foundation enough.
It starts to miss the dynamic between you and your partner. If you come in like, hey, I've heard a lot of horror stories at happy hours and men taking advantage, I'm going to go into defense, because I'm going to say, that's not me. Do you not see me? Do you not trust me? Like, I know I know how to take care of myself. We're talking about the content, the wrong thing. And I'm missing your feelings and you're not seeing me. Right?
Yeah.
I'm confronting more to try to protect and not say you can't do this, but if you're gonna do it, just be careful, because I've heard a lot of horror stories. So
I'm protecting you, right? Versus I'm sharing vulnerably with you. I'm doing this for you, not sharing for me, my feelings. Right. And we do that all the time. And why we go into you language, you this, you that. I mean, he's not doing this in an aggressive way, right? He is coming from this way of trying to protect. And I'm not saying that's not true, right? There is probably part of that is true for him. But the reason it's a 6, we're talking about him feeling betrayed, right? Not like I'm concerned about my partner. It's really what's that deeper feeling underneath, right?
What did you think about the conversation about who is paying for the meal and splitting the meal? Does that matter?
Our typical expectations of situations, I think, can come into play, because there is something about that we have, if it's in your culture and your friend group and what you have the expectation of, which mainly in American culture, right, if the man pays, it's more of a date. So if that's kind of what you subscribe to and how you operate, then that's going to have a different meaning and significance. So I think it's something to kind of take in and talk about and consider, but it's not like this like smoking gun of like this was a date, because we do operate in a world with expectations and kind of these standards. So we can't just say, well, like whatever, but it's what, if that's what we subscribe to, like in your dynamic, which sounds like they all do, then it is something to think about. Like, okay, if you did pay for the date, how do you think they interpreted that? Like in this, meaning in the conversation with your partner, bringing that conversation in. Okay, so you are the male, you paid for the happy hour dinner. How do you think they interpreted that, right? Or are you guys going back and forth? Because this is a dynamic that is, we have at play.
I really like the way that Anya kind of describes it, which is like, if my man friend paid for something, that gives like a certain vibe.
Yeah.
And I almost like think she used that word as a way to like fill in like something. That's the perfect word, right? It's like a vibe.
And we do operate in these, where we have these kind of roles and expectations. And so we can't, like if you're confronting your partner and it's like, well, I paid for it, and they're the male partner, and it's like, it doesn't matter, it doesn't mean anything. It might send a certain message if we're all like operating under the kind of idea that when a man pays for a date, or when a man pays, it is a date. So it's really, we can't just dismiss.
Makes sense. Do men cheat more than women? And do the reasons for cheating differ across genders?
Statistically, men and women cheat at about the same rate. It's really hard to gather that data because, as we've discussed, there's such a broad definition of what infidelity is or how we define it. So when we're answering that question, if I said, have you ever cheated? You could be if I don't define it, you could be saying, no, I've never cheated. But my definition, you may have, right? So we have to be really clear on that. So there isn't that men are cheating at these like disproportionate rates to women. So that I think we have to like really be clear about. And there's so much stigma around a woman cheating. It's really hard to admit, even if you have the definition correct, it's like, what is that going to mean if someone sees me as that? Because we kind of expect men to cheat at some point, and women, there must be something wrong with them if they cheat. And your second question?
Do the reasons differ?
The reasons differ. The reasons men and women cheat don't differ. Some cheat for emotion, some cheat for sex, some cheat for sex and emotion, some cheat for their own sense of self. There isn't just like a clear, this is the only reason that men cheat, this is the only reason that women cheat.
Yeah. Do you consider gender roles in the type of, in how you're creating the conversation? I'm basically trying to ask, how do gender roles sort of split that decision tree of how you respond in infidelity, if it does? Or do you sort of look at everyone the same, since the reasoning seems similar? But there's a part of me that believes like in cultural norms, especially in America, there are these sort of, it is separated by gender roles. So does that play in infidelity at all?
I do both when I'm working with a couple. I look at what's happening within them, but I also know that we operate in a larger cultural context, and we are influenced by these messages that we get implicitly and explicitly. So if I'm working with a couple where it's the female that cheated in a heterosexual, relationship, I'm understanding that there is all that stigma and the messaging around a woman who cheats, and also around a man who stays with a woman who cheats, or a man that's been cheated on, and how that messaging comes in, because we're going to be talking about their sense of self-worth, their story, how they incorporate this into their story about themselves and about their relationship. So those messages come in, and really looking at those pieces. Or if it's a male who's cheated in a heterosexual relationship, are they really subscribing to those traditional or stereotypical messages about, all men cheat, this is just what I expect, or this is what it means if I stay? So I'm looking for what messages they've really internalized and how that's impacting them.
Final scenario.
Okay.
Scenario number 6.
While away at CES, a tech conference at Las Vegas, your significant other of 1 year stops at their hotel bar for a glass of wine after a long day. Another person, someone that they saw earlier in the day at a demo, shows up and they start chatting. One glass of wine turns into a few. The space between them gets smaller. And before either of them could really think, their laughs lead to a kiss. Your significant other calls you immediately afterwards to confess and feels terrible. They are genuinely remorseful and assure you it was a drunken mistake and that it meant nothing. On a scale of 1 to 10, how betrayed would you feel, if at all?
Any initial reactions?
I'm really interested to see what they say, because this, the it meant nothing comes up a lot. And how does that land for the other person? That they disclosed it right away rather than it being discovered lands differently for people. So I'm curious.
Mm-hmm. Set, reveal.
Oh.
Anya has a 9. Vanessa has a 10.
Okay.
We're aligned here.
Velko has a 7. Craig has an 8.5.
Okay.
Pretty much.
7
what?
through
It's true.
a 10. Every single person here believes this scenario is a form of cheating.
It better be. Like, what the hell?
Velko, you are just on the cusp of believing this is cheating with a 7.
Yep.
Talk to me, 1, why you believe that, and 2, how you would confront your partner.
So I tried to think the types of cheating, and I maybe go even 7.5 because it's definitely cheating. They kissed, but for me, like 10 would be penetrative and pregnant. Like that would be
Pregnant.
yeah, because like 9.5 is penetrative, and then
That is
10 is penetrative, pregnant, and happy about it. So, but this is remorse.
Yeah.
And it's just a kiss, and
Just a kiss. I think that's a really interesting statement because, you will hear, well, it was just this. And I've seen people come in where it's just a kiss and it wrecks them because of their own history or trauma relationship to infidelity. And people have come in with 10-year affairs, and it obviously impacts the relationship, but not in the same way. So it's not just that, okay, well, it was a kiss and we can get over it, or it was this and we can't. It's really about the individuals. Mm-hmm. But that's one thing you probably don't want to say to your partners. It was just right?
Yeah. And we'll see that play out in just a second too.
I could live with that, and she tells me, and I go,
Velko.
and I think I could pack that away pretty quick.
No.
How betrayed do you feel?
If she's going away on a trip, I am already thinking those things. I'm thinking hotel rooms. I'm thinking the worst already.
I'm thinking hotel.
And the fact that she just goes kiss, I go, whew, it's like a sigh of relief, but also like a little betrayal,
Oh
Yeah.
But it's like my favorite pack away. It's just a kiss, whatever.
I do not know this man.
The relationship doesn't end there for me. A year and a kiss and remorse, that's not it for me. Yeah.
Craig, the second lowest score with an 8.5.
Yeah, it's cheating. I think the excuse of being drunk feels very goofy if they had one glass of wine too.
True.
Which is
They
just
did a couple.
okay.
Did a couple, yeah.
Did they?
Well, it said one led to many more.
Turns into a few. Yeah, one glass of wine turns into a few.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still goofy.
Still, blaming alcohol if it's a couple of glasses still seems a little bit goofy to me.
Goofy's a wild
Goofy's hilarious, Craig.
Goofy.
I love that. It's goofy as hell. Honestly.
Very goofy.
It is goofy.
Yeah, I don't like it.
This person
It's betrayal, and I'm not happy about it. It might not end the relationship, but there's going to be a pretty serious conversation.
So they call you immediately, say all these things. How do you think you would react? What is your confrontation in the spot?
We'll talk when you get home. I'm the type of person that I don't want to talk if I'm angry, and I'd be so angry that I would just need to actually collect my thoughts and not say something I don't mean.
Let me bring up that conversation there because I mentioned when someone's in a pickle, when to tell. Like you're at a tech conference away. Let's just say you're not getting back for another 48 hours. I think something that would go through my head is, should I tell my partner now when we are geographically separated, or should I just wait till I get home? But it's waiting till I get home. Worse, because I also waited. I didn't say it right in the moment. How should someone... How do you look at that, those signals?
It can be tricky of like when to tell your partner. I think if you're calling your partner and you've done something that has broken a relationship agreement, you know, are you telling them for you? Like because you're like, I need to get this off my chest, I'm feeling so guilty, or are you telling them for them? Like, I know that they would want to know right away. I know it's going to help them. Or I think it will help them. You might not know for sure, but I know my partner. I know they want to address things, or maybe they do need some space, or kind of taking in that picture can be helpful. You know, it's not a direct answer. I wish I could tell people what to do, but
that's a really interesting distinction. Yes. Are you telling it for you, or are you telling it for your partner? I think that's actually a lot of clarity in just that.
Yeah. Because I think a lot of times we can go, oh, I'm doing this for them, but really it's our own anxiety. And so when it's really like, I'm thinking about them and what I know about them and the best thing. And maybe it's you have to fly home and be with them or do something, but it's really like, what does my partner need in this?
I was just trying to think, like, put myself in that, really put myself there and be like, how betrayed would I feel? Because again, I feel like 10, once you're betrayed, it's like, oh, I don't know. But 10 maybe is something that's more like if it was like a friend of mine or something like that, like that made it a lot worse. So it's not like striking out for me. Like there's a chance I could stay with this person, but probably not, because I think like just moving forward, and you're like a year in, so it's like if you want to be with this person forever, which most relationships that's the goal, like it's hard. It's really hard to move on to something like that, because now every single work trip he has, I'm like, oh, remember when you cheated on me on your last work trip? Like, cool, now every single work trip you do for the rest of our lives, like that, it's like the trust is shattered. It's just really, really hard to rebuild from that. And so I rated it pretty high, but again, like, yeah, and then like blaming me on alcohol is like goofy. Like you're a grown ass adult. Like you don't have to like it's silly. It's like it's icky to be like, well, one glass led to a few. I'm like, grow up. Yeah. Jesus. Yeah.
They've used the word blame, and we don't ever want to blame. There's no excuse, but there is understanding. Right? So if we're saying, well, it was the alcohol, we're not owning it. Versus going, it felt really nice to be desired, right? Which can be a lot harder to say to your partner, but is probably what was happening, or whatever the feeling was. It felt nice that a stranger was attracted to me. You know, we've been together, well, they've been together a year, right? But it can be whatever that feeling was versus it was just the alcohol.
Yeah. Alcohol is like a medium of it. Alcohol is inanimate. It doesn't have its own feelings or anything. So that is interesting. Yeah.
Well, it can feel less in control, right? If it's like, it's the alcohol, I'm gonna start to be nervous when you're drinking, versus like, it felt really nice to be desired, and I realized that's something I wanna feel more, and here's what we can do to address it. This is why figuring out the why of the infidelity, whether it's big or small, is important, because that's how we actually move forward. So I use this analogy of like a car breaking down. So if your car like breaks down in this like spectacular way, it's very traumatic, and you take it to the mechanic, and the mechanic's like, I don't really know what's wrong. I like fix some things, like good luck. You're gonna be like, how am I gonna drive this car? I don't feel very safe. Versus if you take it to the mechanic and it's like, oh, I see, it was this, this, and this. I fixed it, and here's some things you can do to help prevent this from happening in the future. You're still gonna be a little wary at first, but you're gonna be like, feel way more confident driving that car. So it's the same thing. If I go, oh, it was the alcohol. Okay, well, I don't know what to do with that. I can't feel safe with that, versus I felt this way in it. This is what it was for me, and this is what I'm doing to address it. That's how we rebuild the trust.
Wow. That's a great analogy and a great way of looking at it. I would not have thought about it like that. So, yeah.
And Vanessa, with a 10.
I'm here with a 10. So Velko said something before where he was like, it's just a kiss, but it's not just a kiss. Because they're there for what seems like hours, right? Like how many glasses of wine can you drink in an hour? Like it seems like a while, and it feels like intentional. It's not like it just happened. It's like, you know what's happening. It's hours long, and then it ends like that. And even if they're remorseful, it's like, so what? You still followed through. And something you said that I resonate with a lot is like, once someone breaks your trust in that way, you never really come back from that, in my opinion. Having experienced like being cheated on way back when, like you never forget it, and it ruins the whole relationship. It like takes out all the trust, and if you have no trust, you have nothing. I will say also, I think cheating, obviously there's levels, but I think it's anything you wouldn't do in front of your partner. And like that extended period of time ending in that way just feels like a huge no. Like in front of my partner, I can't even imagine like getting to that point with someone. So
Okay, she said a lot there.
There's a
There's a lot of really good there.
Yeah.
The first thing I want to make sure we don't miss is when she was talking about it wasn't just a kiss, it was all the stuff leading up to it. And we were talking about this earlier of like, one of them was saying like it's when it gets physical. And she's highlighting it's not just the physicality part, right? For her, it's like it was all the stuff leading up to that. That emotional connection that you were having, that you kept going, that you didn't stop yourself from it. So it isn't just, okay, it gets physical and then it crosses over this line. For her, it's like, it's all that build up before.
yeah, I'm going all in. I'm going 10. I don't trust this person, and I wouldn't enjoy moving forward with them in a relationship.
Is there anything that person could have said in that call that could have made the situation better?
No, like what could you say? I think like trying to justify it almost makes it worse.
Yeah.
Like a man's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like I didn't mean like, God, save it. And like I said, like there's no bigger ick than not being able to trust your partner and you never will again. It's such a bad feeling. Yeah.
Lot was said there. Let's actually start with that question I asked. Is there anything your partner could have said in the moment to make the situation better? Because she said, this is a 10, I'm out of this relationship. And she's very much in the line of once trust is broken, it can never be regained in that relationship. How do you go about that?
Starting with owning it. Not, I was drunk, no excuses. I did this. I know I broke your trust. I am so sorry. I want to do whatever we need to do to make this right. This must be so hard for you. I know it's probably really shocking. You know, I love you. I want to figure this out together. The we language, owning it. It's not, I mean, there's nothing to say that's going to like make it a perfect, but if you start from there, you can, like, that's going to land probably in a better way than if you're like, I was really drunk and then we just had this kiss. It meant nothing to me. It sounds like a lot of excuses versus ownership. And if there's a lot of excuses, you can't trust that because again, we're not talking about the real thing.
Yeah. Can trust in this case be rebuilt?
Trust can be rebuilt. It doesn't mean that it can be for everybody or that everybody wants to rebuild it. So it's really about, can we try and see if we can rebuild it? That's something when people come in, you know, I tell them, I don't know where we're going to end up. I know that for some couples we can rebuild and you can actually have what feels like a stronger or more intimate relationship because we're putting everything on the table, we're doing this work consistently over time. But this is a part of your story now. This isn't going to go away. It's a scar that you have. What our goal is it's a big gaping wound right now. Our goal is to clean it out and have it heal well and turn into a scar and fade over time. But I don't know where we're going to go. So we have to just take it one step at a time and see. So it's not the question sometimes, can we do it? When we perseverate on that, can we rebuild this? Can we make this better? Then we're so in our heads and so anxious versus like coming into like, being in this moment. You staying here for now doesn't mean you're staying forever, doesn't mean you're saying it's okay, it's meaning that you went through this thing and you're giving yourself some space to figure it out.
I think gender roles play a part because I'm like if she tells me, you know, I was 4 glasses of wine deep and we only kissed, like I said, it's relief. Because in my head, I'm like, I would have cracked like four glasses deep.
Velko!
So in my head, I'm like, you are strong. I'm like, and you are wild. And I find that a little attractive, you know? That she can restrain herself. Because the dog and me would have been, you know.
This is why.
Wow. Okay, got it.
But that's never spoken of, that being strong. you know? Because nobody ever gets credit for being 4 wines deep and not doing anything, you know? But I will say
That changed my answer to a 10.
That's putting me into a 10.5,
Yeah, that
honestly.
just changed my.
I will say though, once trust is betrayed, it's usually over. For the man. But if a woman did it to me, I would find it a little like hot, but like
Something's happening.
she's got a wild side.
What are you talking about?
She's like feral. You can't let her out, you know? She gets out there.
All right. Yeah, that's Velko. He's an interesting guy. I think something interesting about this scale and this situation in particular is cheating is a 7, 8, 9, or 10. And I actually heard before you referred to like there's, and you put air quotes on this, I noticed you said there's small cheating and there's big cheating. Are there levels to cheating? And what do those levels sort of reveal to us?
There are levels to cheating, but in my annoying therapist-y answer, it's up to everybody to decide what that is. Okay? I can't go, well, it was just a kiss, get over it, right? Or it was just this. You have to do
Penetrative,
it.
pregnant,
And happy.
and happy.
So like we're 9.8 if we're not happy about it, right? Like, there's definitely. I mean, you heard them talking about like they were deciphering their levels for themselves, and someone else might look at that and be like, wow, that does not make sense. But it's really there are levels, and you've heard them say of like, I could get over that, or this one, no, this one is out the door, you're done. So there's definitely levels, but it's for each person to decide what those are.
Yeah. It does seem like a sort of shortcut that they all used was physical means it's cheating, not physical. All right, I guess we're going to shade to like a 6.9, but it's not a 7. How would you react to that?
I would encourage them to reflect on why it's the physical piece. Like, is it very clear because it goes into that box versus the very messy, like, emotional piece? You know, I'm going to dinner with a coworker every Friday, or I'm doing this of like, where is that? I don't know. It's a lot harder to decipher versus when it's physical, it's like it can feel very clear. But again, there's so many ways to be unfaithful, and how do we define that?
And it's interesting that Vanessa, in this situation, she said it's not just a kiss, it's everything leading up to that kiss. What does that represent? So it is there, and I think especially hearing it from someone like you of, again, validating, because when it is sort of this emotional cheating or like you're feeling a sense of betrayal because you feel like your partner is not doing anything physical, but maybe emotionally there's a disconnect, it's that I think is really hard to confront. Because you're like, am I? Again, it can feel so like alone. Of, am I the only one having this thought? I don't want to say that I'm insecure because of something that is kind of just like vague in the air of emotions. Am I assuming your emotions in this? To me personally, it feels empowering when you say something like that. Of like, again, your feelings are justified. Whatever you're feeling, valid. So thank you. I think there's that.
It's how you approach him though, right?
Yeah.
So if you come to your partner and like,
Help me understand.
yeah, rather than you're being sneaky as shit here, you know, like that's not going to come across well versus I'm feeling insecure.
Yeah. Let's just say this situation happens and the couple comes into your office and they're like, this is the situation. Someone's first time ever being cheated on, but they love their partner so much they want to make it work. But they're like, I don't know if I don't see how it's fathomable that we can make this work because this trust is broken. He goes on a work trip, or she goes on this work trip every like 3 months, and I'm gonna think about this every single time. What are those first steps if you really do want to rebuild that trust?
So I think of infidelity, healing from it, in kind of 3 phases. So we look at the stabilization, which is creating like some safety, semblance of safety. We're looking at managing triggers, holding vigilance for the infidelity, really providing reassurance, taking accountability, and then we can go more into the second kind of phase, meaning making, understanding why it happened, why both partners are staying in the relationship and trying to make it work, what the infidelity means to them, their story, how it has impacted their sense of self, and then moving into the last phase of visioning of what they want for the future. So in those first, that first phase, it's really about validating the feelings. What you're feeling makes sense. When there's a betrayal, there's a breach of trust, and there's usually a trauma response that comes with it because we're wired for connection. And when we have a disconnect from our partners, we have a visceral response to it. Our brain is going, this person, we start in this kind of couple bubble, and then when you do something that breaks that trust, I go into my individual preservation. Right? My brain is going, this person isn't safe anymore. So we have to kind of rewire that and create that this person is safe. I can turn to them. So we have to create a lot of opportunities for that safety and really understanding that response that you're having and how to rebuild it. This is one of those, I can talk a lot about all of those things. So it's like, I don't know how much information, it's one of those.
I think it's actually the most interesting thing is seeing how the framework that you would go through it. Because again, in my perspective, I'm probably in that class of people that if I got cheated on, I'd be like, all right, this must be game over.
You don't know that.
But I don't know. Yeah. And then
you don't know that because I have so many people in my office that are like, I always said I would leave. And so why am I here? But I'm here and I don't want to leave. So it's like people to their core, they're like, I always told them if you cheated, I'd leave. I always knew. And they're there. And I'm not saying you wouldn't, right? Like I obviously can't tell you, but so often we're easy to be like, I'd be out.
Yeah. That's interesting. I think I know the answer to this now that we do, but I'm going to ask anyway. And for a short form video, I'm probably going to ask again, but are any of the following excuses for cheating ever justified? I was drunk.
No. There's no excuse. There's understanding, but understanding doesn't mean an excuse. Right? And we want to, when we're trying to make sense of this, we don't want to just be like, oh, it was this thing, and really dismiss it because that doesn't give the other partner any sense of safety. Like if we're just going to throw it off on alcohol every time you drink, I'm going to be worried because I don't know what was really underneath what you're doing to work on it unless you're going to stop drinking. But even then, there's usually something that's happening underneath. And when I understand more of it, that's how I feel safer and we rebuild trust.
It meant nothing.
No. There's no excuse.
There's no excuse. Okay.
There's understanding.
Got it. Yeah, there's understanding. Yeah.
So we don't.
It was a mistake. We were on a break.
Okay, that one is the only one, and I'm not going to say it's an excuse, but there's understanding around what were the agreements. If we're just like, hey, we're going to take a break, we need a little space, it's not very clear. Yeah. Especially if you've been in a relationship for some time, you've been monogamous, and then you're like, well, we took a break, we were just taking some space. Yeah. But if you're taking some space, we're like, really, no, we're taking space, we can see other people, and if only one partner acts on that, the other one might be upset. But that was part of the agreement. Yeah. You can have feelings about it.
We noticed when we were making this you could feel uncomfortable, you could feel really sad, but betrayed is a whole different category. And I'm learning now it has to do a lot with, again, it's a mutual agreement. And betrayed can only be like, did the other person break that? Yeah. It was just a one-time thing. No excuse. Got it. In terms of these scenarios, there's one final big question I have to ask you.
Okay.
Do you believe in the statement, once a cheater, always a cheater?
I do not.
Okay.
I believe that we can grow and we can change because being a cheater for most people is not a holistic, global descriptor of who they are.
Yeah.
And because if we were held to some of our worst choices and actions, we wouldn't want to have relationships, friendships with anybody because we've all done some things that are not great, right? And so we really want to look at the human and what are you doing with this thing? Not just that you did this thing and you are a cheater. What are you doing with it now? My whole job is helping people grow and change. And so if that wasn't possible, I wouldn't have a job.
True.
Right?
That's a great answer. Because I think I feel like that's always such a hearsay thing growing up, and it's like an easy thing. We talked about in the beginning of just like these mental shortcuts, these heuristics, and it's easy to want to believe, all right, this person cheated, this person's really evil. And I think this topic of infidelity like really interests me for a couple of reasons. I think the first one being when I first like heard about cheating, like when I was younger, you'd only envision evil people doing it, right? And then as I got older, I was like, oh, like I have friends who've cheated. You know, if very candidly, I think I've found myself in these gray area situations, like these dark gray area situations where I wasn't the best in this. And I think there's a part of me that always felt like really insecure about that. I didn't want to say that out loud. I didn't ever want to be like, oh yeah, I've like who has ever wanted to even have the thought of like, did I cheat on someone? Is this now a label that's gonna go on me? So it's like so easy to be like, no, I'm not even gonna open that conversation. But this topic is something where I think good people can do really bad things, bad people can do really good things, and I think that is something about humanity that I find really interesting. And to hear a couple things from you, I think one being like, I think I mentioned this before, but that feelings are always valid. You know, no matter how you feel and no matter how alone you might feel, that is valid. And then you gave us the tools for how to act on it. I love the help me understand. The help me understand instead of why would you? That's so defensive. And then even on the flip side, for someone that might be struggling in this gray area, how to think about it and giving a little grace in that situation, I think is important.
I think that's the hard thing too. When good people can cheat, it's very scary because my partner's a good person. Could they do that to me? That's where I think we bucket really easy and like, they're a villain, they're this, that's not gonna come. Like, that's far away from me. Versus like good people can cheat, happy people who don't. Most people that come into my office don't want their relationship to end, didn't cheat because they wanted it to end, right? So breakups usually if, you know, someone's wanting to get out of the relationship but doesn't know how for a variety of reasons. It's an exit. Or their shakeup, like, I don't actually want to leave my partner. I love my partner. Maybe I really love a lot of things about our life or this person, but I want something to be different either in the relationship or with me, and I don't know how to do that, right? It's not an excuse, but again, it's understanding.
Yeah. What would you say to the person, you know, there's probably someone watching this that did cheat, right? They clearly did something where their partner thought was a 7 or above on this scale. And I can assume that they've never told anyone. And deep down, they struggle with it themselves. What would you tell them if they're looking for help with that and like feeling comfortable with that thought?
Get some help from somebody who has training in working with infidelity. You know, we therapists are humans too, and we have our own biases and own things, and so you really want somebody who is going to come in a non-judgmental way and really support you through that and try to make sense of it and trying to find how you fit this into your story, right? How you fit this piece, because a lot of times I think I've said of people who would never imagine they would have cheated, and so how do I fit that into my narrative that I'm a good person or I'm this type of person, and so we need to find a way to make that cohesive story.
Yeah. Is there anything you feel was missing in this conversation about infidelity?
I think the takeaway with infidelity is it's nuanced and it's gray and we have to get in the mess of it. And I think when we're looking at like this scale, I think like you were saying earlier, it's not just betrayed, but it's like, what are all the other feelings that are coming up? Like, I think there was discussion about, well, it's not cheating, but I have feelings about it. And just because it doesn't cross your line into cheating, but you have feelings about it, that's something you want to talk to your partner about. So it's really just more hitting that home of this is gray and nuanced and messy and we have to get into it. And it's better to get into this mess before the thing happens. But even if it's happened, you can get into it and you can have a relationship afterwards. Like, I've had people, a lot of people say, you know, I'm grateful for where our relationship is now. I hate that we had to go through this infidelity, that this is how we got here, but I'm really grateful that we have this intimacy and this vulnerability and this safety that we never had before. And a lot of times when I'm sitting with couples for the first time, I'm telling them that it's possible. It doesn't mean it is for everybody, right? I'm not promising, because I don't know, not everyone does get there, but it can be. And then we get there, you know, it might be a year or two later, and they're like, wow, you were right, Lauren. We did not believe you in the beginning. But wow. Yeah.
That's interesting. I like that. Like, this is a betrayal scale. There's also a how uncomfortable do I feel scale, a how sad do I feel scale in this. And the Sprite bottle or that analogy, the sparkling water of like, don't wait till that all feels like really shaken up and pent up, but feel okay. And actually encouraged to talk about those in a way, open that bottle slowly.
Right, it doesn't have to be big enough.
Yeah.
I'm using a lot of air quotes, but I feel like some of these have to be important, right?
4.9s.
Yeah.
Right? We saw 6.9s, like people shading on the side of, maybe I won't say it.
Yeah.
But why not?
Ask yourself that, right? That's a really important thing. Why am I not telling my partner? Do I feel like they're going to think of me a certain way? I'm going to come across a certain way? Well, why do I think that? Has my partner ever given me reason to think that they wouldn't be open to this? And if you're answering yes to some of those things, like, do we need to talk about that? Is there a bigger relationship issue, right? We can really go down the rabbit hole of these questions, but the whys, sometimes asking yourself like why 5 times can be really helpful. Well, why do I think that? Well, why that? Right? This is when you're asking yourself, so whys are okay.
Whys are okay, yeah. Awesome. Well, Lauren, thank you.
Thank you.
This was so revealing. I mean, personally, I think to an audience, I always walk away from these videos with like, does there feel like there's going to be a true impact when we post this? And I'm so confident that there is, and a large part of it is thanks to you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. I'm so glad you're talking about this because these are conversations people want to have and just don't usually have a space to talk about them.
And thanks to our 4 contestants and reacting to them.
Yeah,
So
that was really fun.
Awesome. All right.